is someone that really, in a lot of ways, needs no introduction, but the obligatory welcome to the program, John Tavares, is now out there. And John, the biggest question we can ask anyone, and the most important question we can ask anyone to start.
Obviously, I think a difficult situation, but
Sure.
a lot of benefit when you try to just look at things positively and find ways to make the most of it.
We know that you would rather be playing, the Maple Leafs, 30 other NHL teams would rather be playing, but what is, because you try to look for silver linings in everything, what's the best part about this pause for you and your family?
Yeah, I think just being able to be around my son every day, just to have that unique time where, we're almost 3 months in now, to have that kind of consistent and that long length of time just to be with him every day, see him grow, see his personality develop, and just have that bonding time as a father. So just really try to enjoy that, embrace that. I think that this is really not something you'll ever get again, to get 3 months straight every single day.
Yep.
With what I do for a living, and how busy life can get, traveling and being all over the place at times, and obviously the commitment you make to your career. So yeah, it's that's been really the highlight, no doubt. So just try to enjoy it.
So, John, you took on some added responsibility. You became a member of the Return to Play Committee, and you helped formulate the playoff proposal that was brought out this week. Take us through that process. I heard you guys met a lot. I heard it was a lot more work than I think anybody really thought it was going to be. What was it like to be involved, and what were some of the biggest challenges?
Yeah, I think it was great. Obviously, we had quite the crew of players, so it was a real treat to be with those guys and hear their thoughts and kind of work together and try to get a sense from our whole membership what guys were feeling and how they've been doing, and where things are at. And then the league was really good as well with all our staff at the PA. I think a lot of heads came together to start really at the beginning, when we were really just trying to gather information and kind of collect ourselves and try to find a starting point, to obviously getting to where we are now, where we're trying to create a little bit more clarity, even though we know we still have a decent amount of uncertainty still, but trying to make it a little bit more clear, I think, for everyone in the hockey world, and obviously hockey fans. So yeah, it was definitely a process. There was a lot of spitballing going on, a lot of things that we thought about, from obviously return to play, to the health and safety. Families have been talked about a fair amount, the family situations and how we deal with that. Are we going to have, at the beginning was, were we going to have fans? Are we not going to have fans? Just all these different things that were so unknown. And then as time goes on, you start to get more information and get a better sense of where things are headed, and kind of what also the experts and governments and all the local authorities are telling us as well. So it's just an evolving process, and the communication, I think, between us and the league was very good. Um, our staff at the PA worked extremely hard communicating to so many players the information that was always changing. Obviously, ideas, thoughts, concerns that guys had across the league, across our membership. So, yeah, there was a lot of time on the phone. There still is. But when it came down to, I think the format that obviously that's probably been talked about a lot, and kind of where things are. Hubs. Talking about hub cities, and moving into phase two, and potentially what phase three might look like. Um, a big thing was trying to obviously, I think, recognize the regular season as best we could. We've obviously played a substantial portion of it, and certain teams have really deserved their positioning and where they are, and trying to honor that, and then trying to give every team that had an opportunity still to make the playoffs to be a part of it, and try to reflect where they are in the standings as well. So there was a lot going on in terms of trying to handicap it the best we could, trying to make it as fair as possible, and there was countless proposals, ideas, concerns, things that we went over, which I think linked quite a bit with the integrity of, obviously, like I said, the regular season, but also winning the Stanley Cup, and earning that right to be a Stanley Cup champion and getting your name engraved on it, just like every other team, every other player. And we more than think that what we've come to, which may not be perfect, but still believe. And I personally know that whoever comes on top out of this thing is certainly going to have to earn it. And it's the circumstances we're dealt with. I think the whole world is dealing with them in their own way, whether that's personally or financially or business-wise. So, we have to do the same and make the best of the situation we can as well. So, obviously, it's kind of got us to our point now, and we looking to get into phase 2. A lot of those things were discussed as well, and I think that's an evolving process as well to kind of get our feet wet, see what that's going to be like. It's obviously going to be very different with a lot of the protocols that have been put in place, trying to adapt to that. And then obviously there's the actual performance side of it, where how are we feeling? How are we responding to the training, getting back on the ice, where do we think we're at, and how that might affect training camp in phase 3. So those are the things that are still kind of ongoing.
What was the biggest, I don't know if fight's the right word, but biggest argument, debate, disagreement that you heard?
Well, I think it's definitely just trying to reflect the regular season as best we could, and trying to really recognize the teams that make the playoffs, just how hard that is. And there was just a lot of debate on how we can get down to that, and what we really feel is truly fair, and what we can live with. So, that's why we explored every avenue we possibly could and tried to weigh the pros and cons as best we could. And every scenario, there was always something you could nitpick. It just, there was no perfect solution unless we could finish the regular season as it was set up, with so many of the different variables, with how many teams, with how many games teams have played. Your I guess you can talk about strength of schedule going down the stretch, just how to determine all these factors, and all these issues that came up. And really, when it came down to it, after exhausting all options, doing the best we could, this is what we recommended to our board. And, there were still concerns, which I think we respected, and were very valid points. But I think just understanding with what we're dealing with, we knew it wasn't going to be perfect. And then this came. This was the best opportunity, or the best concept we had to go with, and we still really believe it reflects pretty closely what the regular season has shown. And then we're going to get a true 16-team playoff, which will reflect like any other season, which I think is a big plus, a big positive.
A question from YouTube. This comes to us from Tyson. Hi, John. What was your favorite moment about playing in Oshawa for the Generals, and what was it like having your jersey retired in Oshawa?
Yeah, obviously tremendous fond memories. It's always nice to go back and see so many familiar faces. It's hard to believe it's been 10 or 11 years since I played there, and obviously, extremely honored to be up in the rafters with, obviously some of the most iconic players in our game. So that is very humbling, and great to be part of that tradition. It's a really special tradition in Oshawa. I think for me, memory-wise, we had a really good team there. Our second year, we unfortunately didn't get past the second round, but the type of team we had, we were very skilled, very talented. I think we surprised a lot of people that season, and we went deep into the second round. I really thought we had a really good team that could go really far. We went further the year after, but I know personally it was a special year, and then I think as a team we surprised a lot of people and did a lot of good things. So always remember a lot of positives from that season.
Okay, two things about junior hockey really quick. So you lead all OHL scorers in history with the most goals at 215. Do you also, true or false, lead all OHLers in all of history in the most bags of fruit gushers crushed?
That's the Delzato claim, probably. Yeah, I enjoyed a handful here or there. I mean, he liked to treat himself too. Let's not. He had his own bag of treats once in a while. So yeah, those were different days and the way I approach that those choices now. So funny how things change.
I can neither confirm nor deny that came from Michael Delzato. Over to you, Elliotte Friedman.
Well, that's a yes. I think we know the answer. That's a yes. We've got a question here from Adam on Facebook. What was your welcome to the NHL moment?
Yeah, I've gotten this before, and for me, it was a pretty cool one. It was my first game. We're playing Pittsburgh, defending Stanley Cup champions. Obviously, I think it was Sid's fourth or fifth year in the league, and already obviously the best player in the world. So it was really exciting to have that as my first game. Kind of step in, and I was living with Doug Elliotte to start the year, and him and Billy Guerin are really close. And obviously, Billy was I don't know what season it was for him, but obviously tremendous player, great sense of humor, and incredibly strong. So there was a kind of a whistle in front of our net, a little bit of a scrum, and everyone's kind of grabbing somebody, and Billy grabs me, and he grabs my jersey so tight. I was very nervous about what was to happen next, and he kind of, I think, double take that he saw me and recognized who I was, and he just said, Dougie wants you to clean your room one of these days, eh? And kind of make me chuckle, and just obviously a very tense, serious moment, exciting moment for me playing in my first game, and Bill Guerin, who I remember watching for many years, grabs me, and you can feel how strong he is just by how hard he grabs your jersey. You're nervous about what's going to happen next, and he just cracks a nice joke that kind of lets you settle in and just feel good about where you're at, and why the game's special, and so much built up to your first game. So that was just a great moment for me.
You've provided hockey fans with a number of highlights, even before you joined the OHL, playing minor hockey in Ontario. And there have been remarkable goals, remarkable moments. But the one thing, like when anyone says John Tavares to me, the first thing that flashes into my mind is your sequence along the boards against Sean Couturier, which I still think is a clinic in balance and puck protection and all of it. If I was to say, John, give me one moment that defines who you are as a hockey player. To me, it's that Tavares versus Couturier moment. What is it for you?
Well, we had some really good opportunities. My time in New York in the playoffs, and to have a couple of big goals like I did, to step up in a big moment, kind of try to will yourself to find a way to get the job done, especially the big hump that we had. I know for the franchise, and then for a lot of us that had kind of grown together and been there for a long time. And so the couple goals I scored in Florida to help us win that series was something. So much hard work was put into that, and it was a great feeling. It was obviously only one step and was only able to do it once, but to come through in a big moment was really special. I know I believe it was the year before when we played Washington, I had a great overtime goal at, I wouldn't say it was a great goal, but it was just kind of finding a way to get one in against Washington at the old Coliseum, which obviously is a pretty remarkable atmosphere when you play in there. So, those moments when you're able to step up and make big plays, especially when you're counted on for a lot of responsibility and look to in big moments. That's what you play the game for, to have those chances, have those opportunities, and to come through was really special.
Behind you in that room, is your gold medal anywhere in there?
It's not, no. It's not. It's tucked away in a safe somewhere, I believe.
Because Elliotte and I, if we were you, we would be wearing it every single day, like to remind everybody all day long, John. Like you understand that. Hey, I'm curious as well. I can remember being 7, maybe 8 years old, and growing up in the West End of Toronto, and knocking on Borja Salming's door one day, not thinking that he was ever going to open the door, and he did. And John, I was stunned, and I don't even remember even saying anything other than "wow." How often do you get kids knocking on your door just randomly?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a weekly occurrence, but there's definitely it's occasional. Halloween's a big day for the kids from the neighborhood, so it's a lot of fun. I know they get excited to see one of their Maple Leafs and get some candy from them and say hello and whatnot and take a picture. Last year, obviously, with a lot of attention with me coming here, and obviously a lot of expectations for our team. There was obviously some great moments. We got off to a really hot start, and I got off on the right foot, and had some big goals, had some really success early, and just amazing the amount of notes from kids and
That's awesome.
written cards just left on my front door coming home after a big win, and just stuff like that. So just really cool to feel that support and that passion around town, and I know what it was like being a kid and looking up to your favorite players, your favorite team, and watching the game. So yeah, that stuff is really what makes hockey special, and how we are able to kind of connect through generations, and hockey's one big community. So.
Well, and that means you probably have to buy extra candy because you don't want the kids to say the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs only gave me one small chocolate bar, right?
So, exactly. You got to
yeah.
get full. So,
Taylor on YouTube, which teammate would you want to quarantine with the most or the least?
Oof.
Yeah, I think I was asked this when early on when we did some of those conferences. I know. I think I mentioned back then. I think Mitchie and Holler. Those two guys in general just bring so much energy to our locker room. They make kind of any environment, any situation, just a lot of fun. You could be on the bus, getting in late somewhere after a tough win, and they just do a good job of kind of lightening the mood, and good job kind of just bringing life to our locker room, and just the type of people that they are. I know Freddie's been down with Austin and AZ, and me and Freddie have gotten to know each other pretty good over the years, over these couple seasons, I guess, and gone to a lot of dinners and talked a lot and got to know each other personally. So, Freddie's a great dude. We both enjoy playing golf in our downtime. So, yeah, Freddie would be a good one as well. I can see why Matt's made that happen.
From Facebook, Ryan says, thoughts on Nick Robertson being added to the roster?
Yeah, I think it's great. I could imagine being in Nick's shoes and just your hair standing up on end. Getting an opportunity to be part of the team in a unique situation like this, and possibly to have an opportunity to help us win a Stanley Cup. So to have the season that he was having was tremendous. Obviously, it just seems like he just has keeps getting better, and from being drafted to then after that, just the progress he made. I think the World Junior camp in the summertime, throughout the OHL season, at the World Juniors, he just continues to get better. Obviously, he was scoring at a tremendous pace this year. And my time being around me, you could just tell how much he loves the game, and is excited for his opportunity to be a part of our team. Obviously, exciting that we have prospects and players like him in the pipeline, and really looking forward to having part of the group and help him come along and be a big part of this. I think we know with our team we're going to have to continue to draft well and find players like him, and he's a great example of that. So I know he must be thrilled getting the opportunity, and it'll be exciting to have him kind of learn and grow around our group.
So as the captain then, what type of responsibility in your mind do you have as Nick Robertson joins the Maple Leafs? And you mentioned hair up on the back of the neck, maybe a little bit bewildered, looking around the room and seeing yourself and Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and William Nylander, et cetera, Morgan Riley, et cetera. Like, what's your responsibility in all that?
Well, you're here for a reason, and you shouldn't feel that you need to walk on eggshells. You need to be yourself, and you need to play like yourself. Never take anything for granted, and you got to go out there and work and earn it. That's what playing at this level. It's so competitive. Those things are very valuable, but there's a reason why you're here and what's gotten you here. So don't forget those things, and be yourself. You're a part of the team. You're a part of our group, and you mean as much to our team and our success as any one of our core guys. And you go down our lineup, I think, and everyone contributes in their own way, and you can earn that opportunity to be even better and grow and make even bigger contributions in the short term.
So on a 2-on-1, it's okay to shoot.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
John, when you came to Toronto, I'm sure you had lots of expectations. Big change in your life. I think everybody kind of has an idea what it's going to like to be here, and then a reality unfolds. You've had 152 regular season and playoff games in Toronto. Has it been what you expected in terms of the way you envisioned it?
Well, I obviously would have loved to have won the Stanley Cup last year. I think obviously disappointed by the way the season ended for us, especially with the way we kind of came out of the gates. It's been the way I envisioned it. I don't. I think that at the end of the day, the goal is to win a Stanley Cup and be competitive for a long time, and I hope to be playing at a high level for a long time. I thought about my decision and not just in the short term, but in the long term. And I really believed in obviously what the team here was building, the young core group of players, and what their skill sets were and their potential, and how I could complement that. And I think that fit has been great. I think certainly that's kind of worked out really well in terms of what I've envisioned that way in terms of playing the game, performance, and being on the ice. I think overall, being a Maple Leaf and being in this community and seeing what the team means to this fan base is just remarkable. Pretty unbelievable to be a part of it. It's such a fabric of the culture and the community here in Toronto, and obviously what the Maple Leafs mean to everyone here and the game of hockey. So, yeah, it's been an absolute blast. I've enjoyed every second of it. And excited for what's ahead.
All right, hold on
Now,
1 second, Jeff. Ryan on
go.
Facebook. What's the first thing you would do with the Stanley Cup?
That's a great question. I don't know if I would just kind of stare at it. Just really believe that I've won this trophy that you dream about and work so hard for. And then I think just sharing it with your family. So many people that are a part of that. I think to all the commitment, the sacrifices so many people make to contribute to you having this opportunity and hopefully having that outcome to be able to share with them and just to enjoy some great memories, knowing that you're part of history.
That's a great answer. You almost became a Marley before you were a Maple Leaf. Let's go back real quick. And I can remember I've talked to John Ferguson about this a couple of different times. And I thought it was a really interesting idea. And Dave Andrews, the president and CEO of the American Hockey League, pretty sure didn't want to rankle the feathers of the NHL, CHL agreement. And so nothing changed. But, you were granted exceptional status into the OHL. And this would have seen a relaxing of the rules and allowed John Tavares to join the American Hockey League after his third year in the OHL after being granted exceptional status. And then you would have been drafted out of the AHL like Matthews in Switzerland or Radek Bonk in the IHL. How close was it from your point of view? It's a really interesting idea to have in the American Hockey League before your draft.
Yeah, I don't think it was really close at all. I don't remember really paying even much attention to it or, really thinking it was a real possibility. I know it was reported on, but, I remember I had obviously a great first couple of years in the OHL. And then my third year, I statistically still had a really good year, but it was a real eye opener for me that I had a lot to work on. I had still a long ways to go. And, a lot of people talked when I first entered the league is, first of all, if I was too young, if I was really ready. And then, is 4 years too long after my first couple seasons that went really well? Is that really the right thing? And I know that's part of this, talk about about playing in the American Hockey League. But I was really glad, especially after that third year, it was a real eye opener for me that I had a lot of work to do. And I didn't really have a great season. I wasn't very happy with where I was at. And knowing my draft year was coming up, it was a big year. And knowing what I had already accomplished in the league, I really wanted to finish strong and obviously prove to myself that I have I got a lot of things to work on. I want to improve on those things, and I want to go there and have a better season. So really glad I worked out the way it did. So I didn't really pay really much attention to that. I really thought that was a really true possibility.
I'm sure it's the only time in your career the media has blown a story about John Tavares out of proportion. You're obviously privy to a lot more information than we are. John, what do you think the chances are that hockey gets played this summer?
I think they're really good. There's still a lot to be done. There's still a lot of hurdles to overcome. There's no doubt about that. But I think I've always tried to look at things from the positive nature. Society continues to get better. We still have to be very patient. We still have to listen to obviously the experts and gather as much information as we can. But certainly feeling very positive about it. You see a progress in a lot of the countries in Europe, especially in soccer, that have been hit really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Seem to kind of gotten the ball rolling. A couple leagues have started. I think the German league is the one league that's gotten going, and
Yep.
the other countries that were hit pretty hard have kind of turned the corner, and they've got their trainings kind of picked up, and they've made plans to play. So when you see some of those signs, I think you feel that there's definitely a way to get there, and that we have an opportunity. And I think, especially being on the return to play committee and hearing everything that the league's talking about and making things healthy and safe and providing the right environment and being able to pull this off, I think certainly that opportunity is definitely there. But no question, there's still a lot of work to be done and a ways to go.
How would you, because this was such an interesting year for the Toronto Maple Leafs, how would you describe this season? I mean, the one thing that we saw was whenever there was adversity or a blowout loss, you guys never let the lows get too low, and there was always a bounce back and a significant win after people had written you off and, here comes the losing streak. How would you describe this year's edition of the Maple Leafs? How would you describe the season, John?
Yeah, it's definitely a roller coaster. A lot of ups and downs, and I think obviously playing in Toronto, we get a tremendous amount of support, but there's obviously you can feel the highs and the lows if you let yourself, and important just to stay even keel. And I think at times we just had that inconsistency and just kind of searching for what we needed as kind of a recipe just to find a way to get results, to obviously play at a higher level on a night-to-night basis. We still have a very young team, and even myself, I know I was very up and down myself and expect a lot more from my level of play, and I know a lot of that starts coming through me, but we're still finding our way, learning about our team, and not every year is going to be, we get off to a 10-2-2 start and things go really well, or you don't face adversity or real challenges throughout the regular season and then into the playoffs. So just one of those years where we just didn't really we weren't really able to sustain momentum other than that. I think one really long. I think we went 10-1 or 10-1-1 over a really good stretch to really get ourselves back in position, but we weren't really able to kind of sustain our momentum and kind of really get our game building. It was a lot of highs and lows, a lot of a little bit of a roller coaster ride. So I think just trying to find our way. A lot of challenges. We had a lot of pretty significant injuries throughout the year that we had to deal with and adjust to as well. Every team has to go through that, but it just didn't really seem like we could really get that ball rolling with some of those challenges, and then those things came along as well. So, in saying all that, we were still in a really good spot, a really good opportunity. And it's earned us the right to give ourselves a chance now. So really, we got to be looking forward to what's ahead, and an opportunity to kind of reset here. Is obviously we're almost 3 months in, and kind of build ourselves back up. Get an opportunity to get a training camp under Kiefer, which we never really got. So it's kind of almost a little added bonus is with a new coach, you get to really get him to implement a lot of things that he can at a lot more volume and really get those true reps that you need which you really can't get in season, especially as the season goes on, and the wear and tear and the rest becomes very valuable, and trying to make sure you're as best prepared for games. So I think that's definitely a benefit that we're going to get a little training camp with Kiefer and how he likes to run it.
All right, so last one for me, John, and I know this is coming from a glass house with this ratty, disgusting beard I've got, but are we at no haircut until the Maple Leafs play again?
I don't know. I just don't really trust any family members to cut my hair. And it hasn't gotten too out of control yet. I had it a little bit longer for a stretch there in the season this year. So, and obviously we're not really in social settings. So I just try to make it as good as I can for any conversations like these. But other than that, I think I'm okay for a little while. So we'll see.
I want to end, John, by asking you about your mom. So I talked to someone this afternoon who is in your orbit and has been for a long time. And he said, you have to ask John about his mom and about one thing specifically. We know that you're a competitive person. You've always been a competitive hockey player. And he told me that your mom would have to stand out in the driveway late at night, freezing cold, because you wouldn't get off the ice until you won. Tell us about your mom.
Yeah, obviously she means a lot to me. Yeah, there's no doubt that we have a great bond, not just like any mother and son would, but I think certainly when you play a game at such a young age and you have a passion for it, and it brings you what I've been so fortunate to have in my life and be where I am now. There's, like I said, about winning the Stanley Cup, to really share with the people that made so many sacrifices and contributions. There's really no one more at the top of the list than her. I think raising me and my two sisters and my dad being away for work a lot and running the household and having to deal with so much, just extremely impressive and just extremely thankful for everything she's done, for me. So, the best stories and best thoughts that I can think of, especially being a parent of my own now, is, when I would go play at Sam Gagne's backyard rink when we were playing on the Marlies together in minor hockey. She'd drop me off at 4:00 and be back at 7 to pick me up, and we probably didn't leave the driveway till 9. So she would sit out there for 2 hours and just, knew I was having the time of my life and enjoying being out there with one of my good buddies and one of my teammates, and just, really, just in a tremendous place. I think just when you have that joy and that passion for something, and she always took the time to make those sacrifices and knew that probably meant 2 hours away from anything she could do for herself, or she had to stay up 2 hours later the night, whether it was cooking food or doing laundry, things around the house, doing anything to prepare my dad for work the next day. So those sacrifices and those things she did, I'll never forget.
And that's another chapter in the book called Hockey Moms Are the Best. John, thanks so much for this continued health, success, and happiness to your family. Be well, be safe. We look forward to talking to you again when the Maple Leafs are back on the ice.
You guys as well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much.
There he is. The captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, John Tavares, has been our guest. This program returns next Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining us today with John Tavares.